refreshed and ready to go again. Here we go, Mario. Happy to be back. Maybe a day late, normal schedule, if you will. And that's because you and I were relaxing during this FIFA international break. LAFC had the weekend off. I'm not going to complain about that. As hot as LAFC was, Mario, nothing wrong with a little weekend off every now and again.
Yeah, I've been taking full advantage of this FIFA break, as you said, Davey. Went off to Miami for a few days.
Woo,
Just
look at
super blessed
you.
to be out there. That all I can do is just point up to the sky because kind of like how Denis does after a goal there when he points up to the sky. Just feeling super blessed out there. Had a blast. Had a great time. But I do have something that made me super proud while I was out on my trip to Miami, and it is MLS related, so
Okay.
let's get to that in a little bit. But yeah, how was your break, Dave?
Oh, great. First things first, welcome to LAFC Plus for you who are listening, or if you're on YouTube watching, episode 17 of LAFC Plus. We're so thrilled that you're with us. Thank you so much. Give us the thumbs up if you like the show. Leave some comments anywhere you listen to it, or if you're on, again, YouTube, if you're watching the show, LAFC Plus, not just LAFC, the black and gold. It's a little bit more than that. Going to be a lot more than that on this show. He is Mario Ruiz. I'm Dave Denholm. We are part of the English broadcasts of the LAFC radio coverage each and every game. And yeah, my break was great, Mario, because I did much the same. Didn't go to Miami, went to London on the break. Spent a few days over
Nice.
there with the family. Some family stuff, some celebrations within the family, and had a great time. Yeah, and I have an MLS related story. So you go first
Okay,
if you want, or if you want me to. I mean, it's up to you. But you
go
mentioned it
for it.
first. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
save the
yeah,
best for
I
last. We'll
love
save
it.
yours for last. So here's where my MLS related story comes in. Uh, my wife loves when we're out in like another country to
Yeah,
get me to start talking soccer or football, as it were, with people who maybe in general follow it more than the average American, let's say, right? Like in general, right? We're in England. Yes, they happen to know or
a
follow
little
football
bit.
more. It's more popular, let's say, overall.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's always like nudging me with the elbow, start talking some football. She loves when, got. So we're in an Uber going around town,
Yeah.
and we have an Uber driver who's just talking about other stuff. And my wife says, "Are you a fan of football?" And he lights up. He's like, "Oh yeah, love it." And we don't say anything more than that, like in the sense of, not telling him who I am or anything yet. Sometimes that comes up, sometimes it doesn't. When people ask, like, "Oh, what do you do?" But
Yeah.
it's no big deal. Who cares? Nobody knows. They're like, but it was funny in this conversation because she said, "Oh, you're a fan of football?" He lights up, and I'm thinking, "Oh, he's
Mm.
going to be like, Arsenal, Chelsea, or we're in the middle of London." So she
Yeah.
asked, "Well, what's your favorite team?" And he's like, "Well, here he's like, I support Man City. I used to like Arsenal. I don't like what the owner. Sorry, sorry, Stan Kroenke. He's like, I'm not a big fan of how the owner was." I'm like, yeah, Colorado Rapids fans can hum a few bars, but he's like, so I like Man City. He's like, but I have a real favorite team. One above all. And I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, so my wife's like, well, what's your favorite team? He's like, Inter Miami. I'm
Wow.
like, I'm like, no way. He's like, yeah. He's like, and it wasn't just some. Of course, it has to do with Messi, of course, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
he knew what he was talking about. Like he
Yeah.
knew who they had, the Inter Miami. He knew the workings of MLS now because of it. Because my wife said, "Oh, really? That's funny that because oh, my husband." And I didn't even know she was going to do it. Honestly, my husband does this for LAFC. He's like, "Oh, no way." He's like, "You're," he goes, "A team over there in that city is going after a big name." So he like knew the rumors of, obviously it happens to be the Galaxy. Won't spread
Hmm.
too many of those rumors here that are flying around Europe. Believe it or not, they
Hmm.
are flying around Europe, as this guy can attest. And this driver was from Sudan. He lived in
Wow.
London for a while, but Inter Miami, he said, was his favorite team in the world.
That's the Messi effect right there, right, Dave?
There you go. I don't think, all due respect, it's the Benjamin Kromaski effect. I mean, like he, as good as that young kid is, right? So yes, it is the Messi effect. I thought
Yeah.
that was so interesting. I assumed it was going to be Arsenal, Chelsea, whatever. He follows Inter Miami. That's his new favorite team. Now, again, some
Wow.
people will scoff at that and be like, "Oh, he just follows, Messi, and he's not a real fan." No, I mean, that is the power of it. This guy knows his football.
He knew his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to follow wherever Messi goes. So
now he's going to know a lot about MLS, which is great. That's part of the whole Messi effect and signing him and bringing him over here.
Yeah, and he was talking about other big, he's talking about other rumors and big signings in MLS, and stuff, and like guys who, obviously big names. So that was fascinating to me. That was one of a few, conversations I got in about football, of course. And
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So how about you? You said you had an MLS tie. Let's hear it.
I guess we're going to be talking a lot about Inter Miami because I was in Miami, obviously. And the one thing that I was really proud of when I was out on my trip out there in Miami, I saw 3 different MLS jerseys being represented at the pool on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
There was no basketball jerseys. There was no baseball jerseys. Who wears baseball jerseys? There was no NFL jerseys, but there was 3 MLS teams represented. There was like 2 people that was wearing Inter Miami jerseys, the Messi jersey, the pink one. I saw those a whole lot on my trip to Miami. And there was a Charlotte FC jersey, surprisingly, at the pool, a warm-up kit, which was kind of cool. And then I had my LAFC swim trunks on.
Oh, wow.
So I was just looking around, just noticed that, like, how is there 3 MLS jerseys here and no other sports being represented here?
That is wild.
I was loving it. That was awesome.
I cannot say that no other sports were represented in London because as over the weekend, as most big sports fans would know, I saw a lot of Phillies Mets. They were playing in London, a 2-game series on Saturday and Sunday. So in the area I was staying, a lot of people were staying from the States. I saw them on the flights, of course, going back home, especially because people were popping in for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They played, a couple of games in London. So did see a lot of baseball jerseys in that case. But what I saw waiting in line one place, which was not like the airport or anything, but it was in the midst of London. A little kid and his family, he had a St. Louis City
no
shirt
way.
on. So, yeah. So
wow.
There you go. A lot of people coming, obviously a lot of, visitors from America going to London. That doesn't, but I didn't see a whole lot of, you said I didn't see a whole lot of other sports, to be perfectly honest with you. American sports.
Check this one out. There was a young boy who came up to my son when we were heading to the pool or walking to the pool. This little boy, he saw my son with his soccer ball because my son takes a soccer ball everywhere we go on vacation. Yeah. And we're jumping into the pool and this kid runs after us and he's like, Can I play soccer? We're like, of course. So they're like heading the ball and trying to score on each other with headers and stuff. And this young man, he's like, I'm a Tampa Bay Rowdies fan.
Wow.
He was from Tampa Bay.
That's awesome.
And it's funny because he knew his stuff. He knew his soccer. He knew his international soccer. He knew his European soccer, the Prem. He knew everything, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I really do not like the Galaxy because I do not like Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's too arrogant. I was like, geez, I love this kid. This kid is awesome.
Kid after my own heart, no doubt. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, we had a blast, but I did get sunburned though. So I'm a little banged up, Dave. Honestly, right now I'm a little banged up. Too much sun. I got sunburn. My left ear is clogged up with water. I can't even hear out of this AirPod that I have on right now. And I'm a little sore from the gym because I don't know why, but I like to hit the gym whenever I go out on vacation. I like to hit the gym there as if I'm going to be super buff and pumped up for the pool that same day.
It's funny you mentioned that. My wife sent me a meme from like a social media post, and I don't know the source of it. I apologize, but it said something like, my wife sent it to me like, woman decides to pack tennis shoes or running shoes for her vacation as if she'll become a new person, or so, something like that. Like she's going to be woman who thinks she'll become a new person on vacation decides to pack running shoes. No, everybody takes workout stuff on vacation and nobody does it.
Yep.
So
that's so me. I forced myself to go to the gym just because I brought my shoes. I'm like, I brought these things. I got to go at least to the gym. I got to go one time at least. So we went to the gym one day.
Yeah. One downside, lost a piece of luggage so far. Although it's only coming back from London. But hopeful good news is the airline is on it. With these tags now, with the way they just scan stuff, they said it's on its way. It's actually on the flight we were on yesterday, the day, but I'm sorry, as we're recording, who knows when you're watching this or listening to it.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week, I should say, that make it easier. the next day the bag is on the flight. Hopefully we, even as you listen to this, hopefully we already got it back. So that's the, possible downside, if you will. Great vacation, great time, talking a little bit of footy in this, like a major soccer city like London, no doubt. But to see a little bit of MLS represented both in speech and in clothing was great. So yeah, very cool. Good stuff all the way around. It isn't an interesting. It's an interesting time, obviously, with the international break. Full, a handful of MLS, or I shouldn't say a handful. Many MLS players involved. Handful of LAFC players involved. We wish them nothing but the best. Obviously, interesting to see a few days into the break. I guess maybe not even that much. Maxime Chanot playing against Olivier Giroud.
Oh yeah, that was
kind of cool. LAFC, of course, I should say, highlighted that to future teammates coming up here. That was very cool. But as we look, it made me think, and it made you, kind of bring this up too, is there's been a lot of push for All-Star voting in MLS, right?
Yep.
That's their thing because it's coming up later in the summer. And it got us thinking about LAFC in the All-Star game. And we wanted to kind of push who has to be an All-Star, right? One LAFC, we'll pick one. There's obviously several candidates who has to be an All-Star. And then we'll talk about who will likely make it, right? Maybe a little bit deeper into that for LAFC. And we'll take a little bit around the rest of the league in another topic. But let's start with that, Mario. What's the one player for you on LAFC that has to be in the All-Star game this season?
This is a tough question, right, Dave? I mean, we can go several ways with this one. I mean, I have a list of players, a handful of players, but I'm going to have to go with the one guy that I've been talking about since the beginning of the season, since before the beginning of the season, before the 2024 campaign even started. And that guy is Timothy Tillman. He is actually Himothy. That's what I call him, Himothy Tillman, because he is him, Dave. He is him. Before the season, I chose him as a breakout player, for LAFC, as if he can make the national team, more call-up to the national team. And where is he now? He's with the national team. So making a case for himself for the All-Stars with the goals. He's got 4 goals in MLS, 4 big goals at home. And he does a lot of things, Dave, that are just not in the stats. You don't see it in the stats. He's confident on the ball. He's very dependable. Dependability is huge in sports, in any sport, right? If you are available and you're dependable and they know you're going to be there and they know the ball is safe with you, then that is huge for a team, for a head coach. And that is Timothy Tillman for me. Just a guy that I think he's 3rd as far as minutes on the team, behind only Denis and Hugo Lloris. So that means, he's healthy, he's in good form, he's always available for Toronto.
Starting every game, absolutely. Doesn't get in the red card trouble or anything like that. He's so dependable. I agree. It's hard to envision or even go back in my mind. It might have happened like where he had a bad game. It might have happened since you've gotten.
Rarely makes mistakes.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Nothing sticks out like, it was not a good game for him up to his stand. It just doesn't, like you say, just so consistent. I couldn't agree more. One player for me that has to be an All-Star. And, we both wrestled, by the way, with just not including Denis Bouanga because that seems pretty obvious.
That's the obvious one, yes.
Yeah. I think it has to be Aaron Long. And that's kind of I kind of almost felt bad picking him because I think the entire defense certainly has played tremendous. Yeah. And especially lately, of course, with this massive streak. And even Hugo Lloris, I wrestled with even saying Hugo Lloris, of course. Why not? But I think Aaron Long's been really good, rock solid, very good in there. Even in like an appearance, U.S. Open Cup, whatever it is, he's getting better and better too because he's fitting. I wouldn't say fitting in. I should say he's adapting to his teammates more, getting more comfortable with who he's playing around. So, that's just with that territory comes more success for a guy like him. And he's always just been so good. Here's the thing, Mario, as we talked about this, I didn't want to say it to you when we were doing our show prep. I feel like there will not be any LAFC players on the All-Star game. I don't think any of them have a chance to make it.
Why is that?
Just the way the game is breaking out in terms of stats, right? I mean, Denis up there. They could still take Denis. I'm not going to say they won't. Like whoever, maybe, and maybe somebody gets voted in, of course, if the LAFC fans are, a big part of that. But I don't I got a feeling as we're taping the show, how do you deny Chicho? How do you, of course, deny Messi, Luis Suarez, the stats and all that, of course, like where do some of the MLS players fit in that? I don't think anybody makes it. Now, that doesn't mean they shouldn't.
Players,
we have a team
players
loaded.
Make the All-Star team, right? So, yeah.
I'm not saying they're not going to have somebody from it, but I'm saying it's going to be difficult. And let's just say I would not be surprised. And I think everybody else might be, even around the league. But what it tells me is we're getting contributions from everyone. This is a team, right? Now, that's not to say that Denis Bouanga is not a super. I'm not going as far as to say, like, there's no superstar. Yeah, we've got superstars, too.
Yeah,
but even Denis more assists per average minutes or whatever. Like it's just coming from everyone now. Like everybody's playing well. It's a team full of all-stars. Realistically, like LAFC would thrash the MLS All-Star team first because the MLS All-Star team doesn't play that much together, admittedly. But it's a team loaded. Like and maybe I'm wrong, and there are a few that make it. That'd be great. They deserve it. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's no LAFC players on the All-Star team this year.
I also thought about Kike Oliveira as well. He's a guy that's been dangerous
absolutely
all year long, and he's actually, he's finishing a lot of his chances now as well. He's got 4 goals.
Yeah, because when you're putting together an All-Star team, you just like, top 3 in each and that's hard to beat stats-wise from one team, to get. But you're not wrong. He certainly, is playing at that level. It's just that, how are you going to not put Chicho in there? How is, of course, Messi's going to be starting in the All-Star game. Luis Suarez, the Christian Benteke, like these stats are there.
Yeah.
Like, where do you fit some of these? Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's just part of, that's an All-Star thing. I mean, to say who's an All-Star player, we got a team full of them. I mean, no doubt. And they could still make it. That's great. Quite frankly, again, I like the recognition for the player, and maybe they have, I don't know this, but maybe there's some contractual things where they get a little bonus. We see that in other sports. I don't know how that works in MLS. That would be great for them. But it wouldn't kill me if those guys don't have to go do this stuff and take a few days off. It's not the end of the world because we kind of jam the All-Star game in MLS, as you know. Yeah. And that can be tricky. Sometimes that's not the easiest thing. You're still traveling around. I mean, we saw it with Carlos Vela every year, obviously, rightfully so. Virtually, he was an all-star, so it was kind of like, he has to go do that stuff. And that's great. They deserve it. It's fun for them, I'm sure, but wouldn't kill me if the guy's got a few more days off. I mean, so there is a silver lining if potentially. Mario, who's a player we played against? This is another thing we wanted to talk about. Who's a player that LAFC played against this year that you feel like has to be an all-star?
Somebody I've always been impressed with for this year that we've played against a couple of times is Takaoka, the goalkeeper over in Vancouver. But I don't know if he's going to make it or not, but he is somebody that I am always impressed with. And the goalkeeper position is usually pretty loaded with some good keepers in MLS, and he might not get the nod, but he's somebody that makes some spectacular reaction saves and just is always under control back there and manning the back line. And
a great shout.
I like Takaoka. Yeah.
That's a great shout. And remember, we're saying who deserves it if you're listening, because it's not like who's got to make it. Like, again, Mario's right. He's probably not going to make it, or he might not, just because of the loaded position, and he plays for Vancouver. Sometimes that's harder to break through. My guy probably will make it, but I think he definitely deserves it, is Emil Forsberg for New York Red Bulls. We saw him scored a goal against LAFC, but that's not the only, he's elevating them as a team. He's a great player. I think he, like the moment in an all-star game, certainly MLS players usually, they have to like fit into each. I think he can fit in real quick, like his style of play. It won't be too big for him or anything like that. Obviously, he's played in Champions League and things like that. So
he comes from
a big deserves
market. Yeah.
But,
his team is doing well.
Yeah, the more I looked at the schedule, though, some teams bit us early because LAFC was struggling a bit. We know how hot we are now.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. A lot of teams, a lot of players have not looked very good against LAFC. Even good players. And that's a good testament for what the Black and Gold have done. But as I went through the season here, we're almost halfway through, one game away. And I was looking like, early in the season, like Colorado had a nice performance, maybe one of their best of the season. RSL, the snow thing, and we don't even I don't count that. I know Chicho's having a great year, but don't get me wrong. But there were a lot of teams where you're like, wow, the team's got some good play. They didn't do anything against
Yeah.
LAFC, you know, like, I
And
mean,
LAFC is only getting better, right? I mean, with
yeah. And in
Giroud coming
fairness,
here, wow.
one of the best games, or two of the best games played against LAFC by the opponent, were Colorado and San Jose, and they're not loaded with all-stars. You know, so
Right.
those were two of their best games they've played all year, if not the best. So unfortunately for LAFC, we caught them at a bad day, maybe, but they're not exactly loaded with all-stars either, you know. So in fairness, and we'll get our revenge hopefully in future meetings. Yeah. So
and this year's All-Star, we're playing up against Liga MX, right? Liga MX All-Stars on July 24th. Yep. Just to refresh everybody's memory, July 24th is going to be that MLS All-Star match against
right before,
the Liga MX Stars.
Right before the League's Cup. Certainly, as everybody would know, that makes sense. You know, marching into League's Cup with a cool game like that. That'll be fun. Speaking of Liga MX, well, not so much Liga MX. How about a Mexican International as we move on around MLS? Whew, we hadn't talked about it. San Diego FC, that's a big splash.
Big time.
No matter what you think of the player on the pitch, signing Chucky Lozano to San Diego FC just tells you, hey, we're here, right? Mario, this is a big move for an expansion side.
I always thought that LAFC would be the perfect fit for Chucky. I mean, you and I have talked off mic, you know, about Chucky sometimes, and I've always been the one that bring his name up, like he would be a great fit for LAFC. And there was a little bit of rumors at some point. Yeah. But let me just look at this signing through like an LAFC lens, and how does this affect LAFC? I'm just really, really pumped up to see what kind of rivalry can be built here between LA and San Diego. This has a lot of potential to be a derby, a rivalry match here. Just 2 hours apart, you know, both teams are in the West. That's a knowledgeable fan base out there in San Diego who is already loving their superstar, Chucky Lozano, and rightfully so. So I'm just excited to see what this brings to LAFC as far as rivalries.
Yeah, I like it. I like what you're saying. And it kind of got me thinking, we've seen it in Texas with Copa Tejas, the three teams of Texas, right, that battle for that. We might have to come up with some kind of, not force it, but, and of course, it's a little tricky coming up with like a Southern California competition with the three teams now, of course, because LA Galaxy, LAFC is such a fierce rivalry, right? We're in the city, we're 10, 12 miles apart. It's a little different in Texas. Yes, there's all big rivals, but they're not city rivals, so to speak, or, so it might be a little bit different to try to like force in a San Diego rivalry. I think it'll just come naturally. Don't get me wrong. Right. But it's not the same as LAFC, LA Galaxy, certainly, and may never be. But it as you say, it adds something just amazing to the schedule now. You're going to play them at least twice. It's just two more tough Southern California games. So I couldn't agree more. Great signing.
They have to be good, right? That's the key to a good rivalry. Like they have to be good, and we have to have good matches against each other, and that's what makes the Galaxy LAFC rivalry, right? Because since the very, very first game,
you want them to be good, but I think your second point is more important. The games have to be good because LA Galaxy have stunk for a lot of LAFC's history, right? LA Galaxy have not been good, but in fairness, they've always battled against LAFC, so even though they weren't good, the games were tremendous. And, they stuck it to us a few times, right? They put it, in our face a few times, no doubt. So that made it a better rivalry right from the jump. So, yeah, those two things are important. But it's also about the games themselves. Even, again, San Diego FC, you don't want them going 0-34, obviously. But if they come out and really battle LAFC hard, you're right. It definitely takes it to a new level almost immediately. One thing I wanted to talk about with Chucky is I compare it to the LAFC build, and we know Tom Penn, friend, obviously, good guy, now, in charge of San Diego FC and all that's going on there. And he kind of he does the similar thing that LAFC did with Carlos, is get that signing early, right? Carlos Vela, first LAFC, big signing, obviously very early, getting ready for our first season in a sense. This is very early. Getting ready for San Diego FC to join MLS next season. So it's, half a season yet before really they're in the league, if you will. I mean, they're in the league, but you know what I'm saying. But and it kind of is reminiscent of that.
Mm-hmm.
And for what Tom Penn's doing, helping to build San Diego. Now they're going to go obviously be very focused on that Right to Dream Academy, very youthful, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And yet this shows you they want to win right away too. And they've already had a couple of signings with some guys from Denmark or where, like veterans. So this shows you the ambition. But here's the thing, and I'm not trying to say that they're comparing it to this or anything. Chucky is not Carlos Vela.
Hmm.
I mean, that's just the bottom line. He just isn't. And that doesn't mean he's
Yeah.
going to fail. That doesn't mean it isn't a great signing potentially. That doesn't mean any of those things. But just for me, as I try to compare them, or people are starting to compare how the build, he's not Carlos Vela. He's not going to be. he can't be, and he never was. So that is a little bit of the difference there. But again, there is only one Carlos Vela, so nobody's going to sign. You can't find him again, especially if you're looking for as an expansion team. Mario, am I wrong in that? Am I off on that? Like Vela is
definitely
just
not.
a different level.
Yeah.
So
I've noticed right away when you start seeing the social media stuff coming out of San Diego FC and Tom Penn, he does seem to be duplicating what he, started here in LA.
yep.
At least trying that same grassroots formula about building the culture, first, and then going with the big splash signing. Yes, a huge Mexican star. But the thing is, San Diego is not LA. There's, Kendrick Lamar has this song called They Not Like Us. They Not Like Us. LA is different. LA demands winners, champions, trophies. SD is a little bit more, San Diego's a little bit more casual, in my opinion.
They want to have a good time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They want to enjoy themselves. Yeah.
I haven't seen much from their supporters, honestly. By this time, I remember LAFC had already established 3252. They already have the 3252 in place even before Vela was signed, even before Bob Bradley was named the head coach. Now we'll see how their supporters are going to match up against 3252, but I mean, obviously nobody else does it like 3252 around the league, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, kudos to them for the signing. No question. That's a big move and a bold move. Spent a lot of money, according to reports, certainly. And Chucky is a great player. I think he will be very good. Yeah, he'll be very good in MLS for them, on and off the pitch, no doubt. So I'm not trying to say they won't be, but it just reminds me of how big Carlos Vela really was for LAFC. We've talked about it many times, just the perfect signing, from day one. So, just a very interesting time, certainly in Southern California for MLS. Around the rest of MLS, Mario, this is something I want to discuss on this show because it got me thinking about my Uber driver from the Sudan who, says Inter Miami is my favorite club in the world, and there was no joking around. That was just, he didn't know me from Adam, he just was like, yeah, this is my favorite team. It got me thinking about some things. Who are really, because we've talked about it, not only in their former shows that we've done on soccer on 710 ESPN in Los Angeles. If you're kind of new to us, we've had weekly shows in the past. We've heard national people talk about it a little bit. Who are the big MLS clubs at the moment, right now? I'm not saying super club, that's a Barcelona, Real. I mean, that's a whole Man City. I get it. But who are the big MLS clubs? Because it's not just about one thing. And there can be many reasons for or against we can use. And we want to discuss those, Mario. Can we say, whether it's my Uber driver from, an African nation or whatever, Inter Miami is a big club? That's it. They're worldwide now. I mean,
they're worldwide now. They haven't been a big club, when they first started, but ever since Messi came along, they are a big club now. And you see this, they're known all over the world. If you get notoriety worldwide, then you are a big club. You have to put Inter Miami in there. Ever since Messi has arrived, attracting multiple stars after Messi's arrival. They struggled, at the very, very beginning. It was bad. It was awful. But as of now, things are looking up for Inter Miami. David Beckham looks like he wants to win going forward. So you have to throw Inter Miami there at the moment.
Okay, I'm going to name a couple more that I feel are I'll explain why, but I'm going to ask you first if you agree. So you don't have,
Okay.
obviously Mario and I have not talked about these lists or anything beforehand. I think we can all agree. I'm just going to say it. This is not biased or anything. I'm going to start there. LAFC is a big club.
Of course.
You don't attract Hugo Lloris and Olivier Giroud and Gareth Bale and Giorgio Chiellini. Again, Carlos Vela, you don't attract him if you don't have a project in mind. Now, Vela was obviously a guy who had to take a chance on LAFC as much as LAFC took a chance on Carlos Vela. It obviously paid off for both, but you don't attract that unless you don't have those aspirations, and LAFC have come through on and off the pitch. So no two ways about it. Unless you are just an LAFC hater, you cannot disagree with us. I mean, we'll just check that off. They are a massive club.
They've been a big club since the very first season of its existence, right? They've always a threat, always star power each and every single year. Won trophies already, still looking like a strong contender this year and getting even better this year. So you have to throw LAFC in there.
Yeah. So those are the two obvious in my estimation. Let's go to one. I feel they are a big club. I'll explain, see if you agree. Toronto FC. Toronto FC is a big MLS club. Support is there, whether they win or lose. The market is there for soccer, right? You have the international kind of feel, especially like Italian influence and other countries that are influential because it's such an international city right from the jump. Great sports market. And the ownership, whether they've been up and down, they've had some bad times, they've had some great times. The ownership is willing. That's another key.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're willing. And it doesn't always pay off. We know that in all sports. I mean, but you have to be willing. You have to be willing to win and do what you have to do to win. And I believe Toronto FC is a big club. Am I wrong on that?
I agree with everything you say as far as, they spend. They got the money, they spend. And Signe's over there, of course, you know how much he makes. A lot of the players on there are paid very nicely. But I think the winning isn't there. When the winning is not there, I don't think you can be a big club.
But the
market is great. Yeah, they have one. But it's a little inconsistent. I think it's a little inconsistent. And I think the market is there for sure. A great sports town. Yeah, it's very diverse crowd there. I love it. But I just think that they need to win a little bit more consistently to be a big club in MLS.
Okay, we humbly disagree on that. Well, then it brings me to the next one I was going to ask you about, because I do feel this is a big club, but I see your point. Atlanta United. And there are a few things that made me almost not choose them. Look, they got the massive fan support, right? They play in an NFL type stadium that they can fill at times, which is just unheard of, unbelievable. Massively popular in that city, which is a massive sports town. So to break in like they have, not winning lately, right? They've had some struggles. Just recently got rid of Gonzalo Pineda, the coach. They play on turf. I'm sorry. That one almost had me choosing that they're not but I still believe this is an international type club. They can attract big talent. We see it with Thiago Almada. We saw it with Miguel Almiron.
Joseph
put his
Martinez.
Career into the hands of Atlanta United, right? I mean,
true. Yes, what a player he was.
As much as Atlanta wants to go get Almiron, he still has to say he'll come. And and Joseph Martinez is huge names, right, in terms of building through. I mean, they became superstars in MLS. I mean, that's part of being a big club. So I still think Atlanta United is a big club. Do you agree?
Yes, still. I agree. They're still in there because they've done enough as of
wait
late,
a minute. How can you say TFC is not because they don't win?
No, because Atlanta has done enough, a little bit more. I mean, they've like you said, Joseph Martinez, Almiron.
They haven't had the bad seasons Toronto has. I'll give you that.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. These are my four right now. I'm going to ask you in this topic, these two teams I'm going to ask because I don't know. All right. Here's the I don't know. Okay. I'm not saying they are, but I want your opinion on this, and then maybe we can both decide. FC Cincinnati. Let's go through what the case would be for and against. Not a massive market, but a very soccer-savvy market that has exploded, right?
Yeah.
just gone crazy. Right? We know that.
Oh,
Stadium's
yeah.
great surface, unbelievable fans in the Bailey and around the stadium. Certainly the winning's there. Mario, I see an ambition in the way they handle their front office with
Yes.
the rebuild. They were terrible, terrible. Worst team I've ever seen in MLS for a
Hmm.
few years, right? And then they just turn it around and they're willing. And so they're willing, but they're also doing it right. So it's not just about spending the money.
Mm.
And it's something that seems sustainable to me. They're on the cusp if they're not, right? I mean, what's the argument for them? Maybe am I right? Am I wrong? Like where are you feeling, and what are you feeling about FC Cincinnati?
You use the words exploding. I think
Yeah.
that's a right way to describe them. And exploding means just like it just happened. Like they're just exploding now. So they're playing well now. They're doing well now, and it's blowing up now. So they have a little bit of ways to go before we can call them an MLS big club, but
Yeah.
they're on their way. I totally agree. They have some great players there. They're winning. They're supporter shield contenders. So let's see if they can keep it going. If they keep it going for a few more years, then I can call them a big club. But I do like to watch them play at the moment because they are exploding. They're blowing up. Yes.
Okay. Then taking it maybe a step further to the next team, Columbus Crew, right down
Oh,
the
yeah. Mhm.
freeway or up the freeway from Cincinnati. The hell is real derby between those two. Is
Yep.
Columbus Crew a massive big club in MLS?
I think they are. You've seen their
Yeah.
participation in the Conca Champions. They didn't win it all, but you saw what they did to some of those Mexican teams. You see their head coach, Wilfred Nancy, some of the stars they have, Cucho, Diego Rossi, and the talent that surrounds them. They've won the MLS Cup 3 times now. Of course, they beat LAFC last year. They've won Supporter Shield 3 times as well. US Open Cup. They have a lot of trophies. That's the sign of a big club. And they have a great stadium, great atmosphere in Columbus. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, in my eyes.
Okay. For me, I know you still got some thoughts on maybe some other. My final thing to throw out there, and I wanted to save it for last, kind of mess around. They are definitely a big club. They are a massive MLS club.
Mhm.
It is the LA Galaxy. I know
Okay.
everybody likes to mess. This is a team that is known throughout the world because of David Beckham. That's
They
just the
are, yeah.
bottom line. When I was in
Mhm.
London, didn't want to talk about it. The Uber drivers mentioning LA Galaxy too. Okay. So they are no doubt about it. I was just going to save it for last to see if some Galaxy fans who listen to us or watch this on YouTube were getting ticked off if I didn't mention them. But so just as a little jab, I saved it for last. But no question, massive club. But what you don't hear from me, Mario, is either New York team could be, but is there anybody I'm missing in the thought of who's a massive club in MLS?
Not at the moment, but I do agree with you on the Galaxy being
Yeah.
a big club. I know they have that rich history, but really since LAFC's came into the league, I don't see them being really a contender. I mean, what have they been a contender for? Which trophies have they been a contender for? I mean, they've
Yeah.
they've been
Oh, they've
up
been
for the
terrible. Yeah.
LAFC matches.
They've been
They've been
bad.
up for the LAFC matches, for the Derby matches for sure, and that's
Yeah.
been great. But
That's really
as
all
of
they've
late,
done. Yeah.
yeah,
No doubt. But sometimes even a bad team has enough history or
yeah,
enough pull, internationally, even or around the world, whatever, however you want to say it, that, they are still a big club. They are. That doesn't mean they
yeah,
are
they
on the
are.
pitch.
They're
In this
just on a
case,
big drought. What's bigger
yeah,
than
they're
a
not
drought?
necessarily
What's the
on the
right
pitch.
word?
And Seattle is the one also that we're not going to talk much about, Mario, or at least I'm
Yeah,
not anymore. They're right on that cusp.
yeah.
They're slipping a little bit to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just being harsh on them. Certainly
No,
have the
I agree.
potential, but maybe coming back down to earth a
Hmm.
little bit. One last thing about that before we wrap this up is who is, in your estimation, I'm going to put you on the spot. I have my answer, but we can talk about it. Who's the one club overall in MLS that has missed the boat that should be, frankly, a big club that has totally missed the boat throughout, a long time? It's just a complete and other opposite end of where they should. Because, let's be honest, there's some markets maybe it's unfair to say that Austin so far right now should be a big club, a massive. They're
Yeah,
just getting started. Maybe Dallas just doesn't have the. Houston, they just don't have the history in that sense, or San Jose
Mhm.
Earth. Like it would be too harsh to say, oh, they're the biggest disappointment. They should be a massive, there's some
Mhm.
factors that maybe are working against them in a lot of ways. Who's that one club though that you're like, this is ridiculous. Like they should be a massive club and just failed.
For me, it's San Jose. San
Yeah,
Jose has a great
it's,
market there. They've had some great coaches there. They had some great players there, but for some reason, they can't put it all together. And I think
they did win
they
some
should
titles
be.
back in the
They
day.
did.
They had some great players, Dwayne D. Rosario.
Yeah,
They've had some history, but
they do have history,
yeah,
yes, but it's been a while. It's been a long time. It's been too long, I think, for that
yeah,
market, for that club. They got to find a way to keep the tradition going. They got to
yeah.
keep
It's
the winning
interesting.
going. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a good shout. My team is very similar to what yours is in the sense that they do have some deep history of winning, but
Hmm.
there is no way the Chicago Fire should not be an international brand, right? You
Yeah.
have the name recognition in that sense with just a great city for world football. No two
Hmm.
ways about it. I mean, they had some times. Certainly, Cuauhtemoc Blanco helped bring them up, but they didn't win enough. They won way
Hmm.
back in the day, Ante Razov's time. Certainly, they won a lot of stuff, but they were just getting going. This is a brand, Mario, that should be an international brand, even as much, win or lose on the pitch sometimes, whatever. They should be just absolutely massive. This is the
You better
biggest miss in MLS for a
you better hide when
long
you see
time.
Ante Razov at training. He's gonna come after you there. You better hide from Ante.
They're a tiny club. I'm sorry. He will
Yeah.
come after me for that. They
Yeah.
weren't when he was playing for them. They're a
Yeah.
tiny club. And
What about New
is just
England
that's
Revolution?
the
Where do you put New England Revolution? Because I
yeah,
think they could.
that's a great question with Boston. And if they just built that stadium, if they just
Yeah.
get a stadium where it's their own 25, 30,000 seater, maybe oh my gosh, if it was in
Oh.
Boston, look
Oh my
out.
gosh.
Look out.
Yes.
NYCFC with that new stadium coming in,
Yeah.
Queen, whatever, they will be a big club. I'm not going to say they might, they will. They will be a
Mhm.
massive club when that stadium's actually done and complete. No doubt about it. And that would have been the same, I think, with New England, the Revolution. You know what? And not only that, look, I know all those teams love the whole New England thing. Stick it right in the city, build that stadium and call them the Boston Revolution or call them the Boston Rovers or something, whatever you want to do. Just
Yeah.
Boston that thing, right? Don't worry about Providence. Don't worry about
Hmm.
the rest of New England. They have their football clubs, right? Rhode Island has one in USL Championship. That's great. Stop trying to appeal to everybody and appeal to no one. Just Boston. That's it. It's not the New England Red
Yeah.
Sox. I get it. The Patriots. That's the NFL. It's a whole different beast, right? It's not the New England Celtics. It's not the New England Red Sox, And I mean, they appeal to that region and they should, and then fine. But just, yeah, that's a big miss too. I agree. That's a great shout too. Those are the two biggest, no doubt. I think
You know
if
who
you have
is
thoughts,
getting a nice stadium is Inter Miami. They are getting to get
yes,
a
that's true. That
beautiful
will
stadium.
certainly will help.
Yeah.
It won't hurt, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
Beckham had these aspirations from day one. Let's be honest. And Jorge
Hmm.
Mas and the Mas brother. I mean, no doubt about it. They're definitely players, and they have done a great job, no question. Fascinating though. We want to hear your thoughts. Certainly, if you're in a place where you can comment, do that. Feel free to comment about it. If you want to hit us up on social media, I'm at Talk Soccer on Twitter. Mario, where are you at?
At I am Mario Ruiz. At I am Mario Ruiz on all social platforms.
Well, the break is done. We're back at it. LAFC going to Orlando City. We'll be in the Sunshine State, as Mario just was. We'll be a little bit north of that as LAFC
Yep.
travel to Orlando Saturday, June 15. Coming up, pregame coverage begins at 4 p.m. Pacific, and that's going to be on 710 ESPN and the ESPN LA app. This is LAFC Plus, episode 17. Mario, take us out. Great stuff as always, brother. Good talking to you.
Yeah, Dave. Here we go, back at it again. I'm just curious to see if the international break disrupts the rhythm that LAFC was in. I know everybody,
Yeah.
welcomes the time off. Of course, we do. Me, you, and I do. Cherundolo does. Everybody, the players do. They welcome that break. But wow, that rhythm that they were in. I hope it doesn't disrupt that flow. Running off of 7 wins in a row through all competitions. Let's see if they can get that 8th win in a row for this match here against Orlando on Saturday.
One factor before we wrap this up: Orlando needed the break. So we're talking about how it could negatively affect our hot streak. It actually came at a good time for Orlando. They've been struggling. So that's another factor where maybe at home.
They only have one win at home, Dave. One win at home, and I think 2 draws at home. So they don't play well at home either. So they've been struggling. They did need the break, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Mario, as always, man, thanks so much, brother.
Thank you, my man. We'll see you guys on Saturday on ESPN LA 710 or the ESPN LA app, LAFC Orlando City. Let's go. Dale, dale, black and gold.